Welcome to the Big Cheese Podcast. We're here downtown Indianapolis, Mass Ave. I always have to look what day it is. It's Thursday, January 30th, 2025. And I feel like saying those dates is important for the pod because we keep having these, oh, this just happened. And then over the weekend, everyone loses their minds. And I'm like, well, go back in time, listen to what we were talking about a week before you learned about this on the news, right?
Yeah.
And maybe get some predictions. Maybe you should get some stock tips over here. I don't even know, but
that is not financial advice.
We knew that the
This is not financial advice.
We knew that it was all going to be about the DeepSeek, right? And so we've got today's podcast is all about the absolute meltdown on the internet from the DeepSeek fallout. And I kind of want to start with a quote from Sam Altman, and it was a funny quote, and it's older. It hasn't aged well, but basically he was up there and just, no one can compete with us. It's hopeless to compete with us. You will never be, just as a matter of fact statement, no one's ever going to be able to create any model that can compete with OpenAI or keep up with their level of iteration on their technology. Boom, DeepSeek comes in. Everybody thinks they created a better reasoning model than OpenAI, and they did it for cheap. They did it for $6 million, right? But did they? And is that where? And yeah. So let's start. Was Altman wrong? What happened? And is this for real?
So here's a couple interesting things. First and foremost is that David Sachs, the All In podcast person, David Sachs. So he had been a Trump supporter forever on the podcast. He slowly started converting every single other person on that podcast to be a Trump supporter. And weirdly enough, he kept promoting Trump, and now he is the Bitcoin and the AI czar of America, David Sachs. And so him and Altman are now convinced that DeepSeek stole AI or ChatGPT's training data they used AI ChatGPT 4.0's training data to build this model, and that this amounts to theft. You fucking assholes. You assholes. Like, how can you fucking stand there and even remotely pretend that is a stance that has any fucking moral grounds? Like, it's mind-boggling that Altman can literally pretend to sit there and be like, they stole from us. It is no different than Steve Jobs when he got fucking angry at Bill Gates for when Bill Gates stole the UI from Apple, which Apple stole from fucking Xerox. And so the fact that these clowns are sitting here being like, they stole from us. Yeah, you stole from everybody.
So it turns out that Altman thought he had this big moat. Yeah. But let's be honest.
No moat.
His moat never had a leg to stand on anyways. None. Because they created that model off of data that they stole.
Yeah, well, and I think it's telling that he's getting so defensive about like the accusations of theft. I think implies that they are scared of, well, we thought that no one could reproduce this. And to your point about their quote, I don't know, a year ago, the question was posed, hey, with a group of 3 developers and 10 million, do you think there's any chance? How could we compete? And he was like, good luck. You're never going to do it, right? So
coming from the same guy that when he was asked about the pro version of OpenAI, he was like, yeah, I set the price. I set it at $200. And they were like, and he's like, I didn't even put any thought into that. I just thought that would be a good price that people would buy.
Oh, and then he was like, we're losing money.
I'm like, no, this is the Y. Guys, he came from Y Combinator. Exactly. That was from the golden age of SaaS, where all it was about reducing churn and increasing customer onboarding, engagement, and retention, right? He's a SaaS guy. Yeah. His whole thing is, let's just get customers. The rest will figure itself out, and I'll be able to raise money. The stakes are bigger, right? Now he's going and saying, just give me $500 bill, right? Right. I'm the guy here. I'm the guy. And I think the biggest story in all of this is that saying I'm the guy is just not aging well when you're talking about ripping off the entire human knowledge base, trying to create AGI,
God,
right?
I hope that we're fading away from this like one person knows all the answer, mentality.
I mean, it's happening throughout, and it's happening everywhere. And I thought that the best quote of the week was from, I got to shout this guy out, Matt Stoller, Stoller, on Twitter. He said, "Hey, Microsoft, please stop trying to invent God and just make Outlook search work."
Dude, that was such a great friggin' post.
It was so timely.
It was so timely that so much of these companies are now spending all their time trying to do AI, and yet Outlook is dog shit.
But let's actually, I actually think there's a quick sidebar on this. What do you think actually is the customer sacrifice that's being made to chase AI? Because I think that there's all this tech that everybody built, and they're like, we don't have to worry about that anymore.
Right.
We just have to put AI into it, and all of our broken stuff will magically be fixed. And I feel like in season 1, we kind of addressed that. that's not going to be the case.
Yeah.
Right? Like garbage in, garbage out.
So Google just rolled out all of their AI within Docs, within Sheets, within what do they call their slides?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
And but you're not wrong. Like the idea that we can just throw AI into it and all of a sudden we have an entirely new product line doesn't change the fact that there's a lot of fundamental dog shit that you all are just completely ignoring and hoping that AI is going to kind of like cover.
I think that brings up a good point. So I have seen a few people that have this like approach that they're using Google Notebook LM, and they are basically saying, hey, we're going to load it up with scientific documents and things that are grounding it in really, really good data, right? Then they're asking against that. So think about it as like, instead of trying to use an LLM as a general, we've talked about this so many times, like a general search or whatever. It's like build your own data set. And Google has basically given you a easy to use RAG platform that has a great user interface. But yeah, I mean, to think that you're just going to go onto slides and say, hey, make me a 10 slide deck that does X, Y, and Z without giving it any context or like supportive information is ridiculous.
It's going to be the same exact experience that we've had when we're trying to use AI to do the development. Where again, you can go in and be like, hey, I want you to do this, 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 and this, and this, and you give it 5 fucking steps, right? And it's going to go through, and you're not going to realize all of the nuances that you didn't even think about that the AI has to kind of think through. So if you're doing any of this, so if you're using Google's AI, if you're using any of them, the last thing that you always say when you give an AI instruction is ask me any clarifying questions. And it's the most important fucking thing that you can actually do to these things, because then all of a sudden what it's going to do is it's going to be like, ooh, it's going to give you a chain of thought. The moment that you ask it that, it's going to be like, ooh, I need to kind of think through some of these things. And it's going to be like, oh, actually, when you said this, do you actually mean this, 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 and this?
Yeah.
And it gives you the opportunity to kind of correct it. And that's been the most important thing as I've gone through this journey of building these apps just with AI. Again, I'm not coding anything. I'm just using AI. And people are like, well, you could just take over. I'm like, no, that defeats the point. The point is that AI has to build this 100%, and I have to scream at it for weeks if I have to get it to do it, right? Like that is my mission with this thing. And I feel like I'm kind of in that same spot with this other stuff.
Yeah. One other thing, because you know me, I'm a Google fanboy, but I just discovered this feature that's actually been out for a month now. It's Google's, Deep Research. So basically, you know, the whole search the web stuff on ChatGPT and all that takes it to the next level. Like it'll go out, like I did one the other day and it went out and searched like 50 different websites and then aggregated it all for me. And I'm like, oh my gosh,
this is amazing.
Like it's still not magic. Like there's still a level of like, at first it seemed like magic. And then I read some of the responses. I'm like, okay, that website's probably bullshit. You know, like you still can give you bad results.
Well, there's a big distinction that I think the average consumer or even business user doesn't understand. There's a big difference between, okay, what's the benchmark on this big LLM that has a bajillion parameters and then I'm asking anything and it knows everything, to what's this smaller, what's my data going to tell me?
Right.
Because really, at the end of the day, people will just want to have a different interface to their data. They don't want to do select star from users where, they want to, here's a spreadsheet, and, I have to do stuff. No, they just want to say, hey, what is this?
Yeah.
They want to talk to it.
Well, I agree 100%. The hope and the dream is eventually all this AI translates to more conversational accessibility. We talk about accessibility a lot on this podcast.
But to your stuff that that it's around, not necessarily every single thought that's ever been created. And then let's be honest, those general intelligence models, that was a big bet who made that bet? Who made that bet that it was going to be worth $1 bajillion dollars? Did Facebook make that bet? No. Or else they wouldn't have open sourced their model. Right? Did Apple make that bet? Nope. Did Google make that bet? Yeah, but it kind of makes sense for them to invest in AI.
Yeah, Google created it.
Yeah,
but they fumbled it. They literally created the whole transformer model. And to this day,
are they getting people to spend more money on Google Workspace than they previously were?
No,
probably not.
They haven't. So quick sidebar on this is that what people don't realize is so Apple created the transformer model. So a GPT, which is General Transformer, I don't fucking know, whatever it is. But it's based on what Google came up with. Now there's a new version that's a 2.0 model that Google has created. And I think we're going to see everybody once again is going to harp on this. I'm hoping that Google this time doesn't fumble the bag as bad as they did on the first time, which they created it and they're like, yeah, that's cool. And then OpenAI basically was like, yep, we're going to take this GPT model and we're going to just make a whole fucking business out of it. So there's a whole new thing that's going to be happening, and I won't even pretend to what is it? How is it different? Or what does it do? But we're going to be talking a lot more about it. It's going to be a new Transformer version 2 model.
At the end of the day, the moat, right? The moat for these products is not what they thought it was going to be. In fact, I have another tweet that I thought was really good from this week. It might turn out that the GPT wrapper has more of a moat than GPT. Because remember how all the tweets last year was like everybody was building an app that was based off of using ChatGPT's API or whatever. And they're like, well, it's just a wrapper. And then people would get on Twitter and they'd be like, oh yeah, well the internet's just a wrapper for the telephone line, and the telephone line's just a wrapper for electricity, and electricity is just a wrapper for the atom and the mall. Everyone was like, go ahead.
Yeah, I agree. We were harping on it too, but I think we meant in the sense that if all you're doing is wrapping to a chat interface to ChatGPT, you're not adding any value, right? So we're talking about like it's a wrapper.
Yeah, that app that Brandon wants to work on.
Yeah.
We will remain nameless.
No, I will tell you about let me tell you about my new one that I've started.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, I'll use this opportunity to promote my own product, Paperkeeper. It's in the App Store right now.
He actually built this thing and got it approved in the App Store in weeks.
Dude,
using AI.
The approval process was a nightmare, by the way.
Yeah, but you're done.
I'm done. So it's in there. So now my wife is going to have to go and market this thing.
Did you actually create a monetization path?
Yes. So it's $12.99 for a lifetime unlimited pro account that gives you unlimited profiles and unlimited documents. You just raw dog it. So I try to go through and try to figure out some smart, and I'm like, fuck this. Let's just make it $12.99. That feels right.
That's the most Brandon thing I've heard about this. It's a good model. It's good for the consumer.
Price, right? It's good, and it's a good product, and I actually use it. So anytime that you have, so we all have done this. We've all taken photos of important documents that are in our camera roll, right? They're in our camera rolls, and we're like, yep, that's where it's at. And then once we need it, it's a nightmare to actually find. So this is literally an application that just allows you to have all of your important documents in one simple spot that you can share across all of your documents. You open it up on your iPad, it's there. If you open it up on your iPhone, it's there. All of it's just synced naturally through iCloud.
All of it was written by a high agency dude.
100%.
Prompting AI.
100% of it
So you heard it here first, basically. In this world that we've basically been saying, hey, it's actually there, and you can do this now.
Yep.
We have witnessed someone not just talk about it, but be about it and get all the way through the App Store. Right. Yeah. Which brings me to another story. Okay, paperkeeper.io.
Paperkeeper.app.
Paperkeeper.app. and I've demoed this software. It's really cool. I think I'd pay $12.99 for it. Can I put all my nudie pics in there?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah,
I don't have any of those, but I just wanted
I've
to
got
know.
a ton of them.
I'm sure you do. So there's all of this talk about, which I think is actually funny, and I think that the younger the kids, the more likely this is actually to happen. This whole concept of one-shotting. It's a video game thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I never knew that. Well, actually, it first came to me from video games, and I obviously hear people talking about it on about coding.
Right.
But like I play a game called Elden Ring, and like you can power up your character enough so you just walk into a boss arena and you just one shot the dude and walk off, and everybody thinks you're cool. Well, there was a pretty viral tweet that came from I think it was Italian, because the tweet was mostly in Italian, but it was like, I one-shotted this entire video game. It was like F-Zero, but 3D. Okay, so it was an in-browser web game, but it looked legit. Like the car there was all kinds of physics going on. Like the car it looked like a Forza almost type of UI.
And it's all in the browser.
And it was all in the browser. And the guy was like, I built this in Bolt. And everyone was like all the initial replies were like, this is amazing. This is great. How? Not even how, just like, well, the AI is amazing. AI is everything.
Okay, so this guy's going to market saying that I've built this
Yes.
Forza-esque
Yes.
racing game using Bolt.
Yes.
And for it's Bolt.
Yeah.
Bolt.io. I think
no,
is
it's
what it's up.
it's bolt.new, really.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know the main domain.
Right.
But Bolt is an app where you can basically try to one-shot an app, but you iterate on it. But it's trying to not just code assist or build UIs. It's like, I'm going to build the whole project.
It's going to try to do the whole thing.
And the whole thing's through prompts. So it's the comparable product would be V0 from Vercel.
Has anybody have either of you guys built anything with the Bolt?
I've messed around with it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I've scaffolded a few things, and I always end up throwing it away because I'm just like, I'd rather start from a template than quick sidebar on Bolt. It really grinds my gears. I think that we're going to move more towards templating things, because if you think about it, like if you have a SaaS product or a website or a CMS or a CRM or whatever, name your like starting point. Why am I going to go to Bolt to recreate that from scratch, even if it's going to pull from all the examples, when I could just create it from a template and then use that to supplement it, right?
So that was the punchline, sort of, on the story.
My bad.
No, you're good. No, it's a good point. It's a good segue, because the guy didn't one-shot shit.
Yeah.
He didn't one-shot anything. Bolt, in fact, he just completely hijacked a product release from Bolt. Bolt.new/GitHub/GitHub repository name latches onto a repo, essentially pre-clones it, and lets you run that. It tries to run that software. So he found this random ass guy on the internet found a contained repository that had only front end code that Bolt was able to suck in and run. So basically, it was the equivalent of git clone npm run, right? Like Bolt didn't write any of that code. There was no code written, but here's this sensationalist AI tweet, and it just keeps serving these constant social media posts like, this will change everything. This will change. Have you seen this?
Well,
this just got released. Here are the top 10 things you need to know, and it's just constant.
I have a real problem, and I know that this is kind of what we're here to talk about, is like LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, whatever it is. I have a real problem with just the shallowness of conversations that are going on the internet right now. So someone claims to have one-shotted a very complicated app. No follow-up questions. No one, like the masses are just coming to be like first, you know?
Well,
like,
it took him a couple days.
Yeah.
After it went viral, some people shot his ass down, but it didn't matter. The damage was done.
The general public is going and just believing, which is shocking to me, because I am so fucking skeptical anytime I see something on the internet that my first instinct is always, well, that's fucking bullshit.
And it's funny the stuff that. So I quit Instagram. So my addiction now is back to X, even though I hate a lot of it. It's good for sports and it's good for coding. But like the things that they choose to do the fact checking stuff on is really funny, because it seems actually like a couple things that X will absolutely put this is fake news if it's advertising a drop shipping product. Oh yeah, if it's advertising a drop shipping product, it's gonna latch onto it. If it's remotely related to left wing politics, they'll fact check it.
That's hilarious.
Rarely will they do anything related to AI though, or coding or anything like that. The community is just Reddit style fact checking it.
Dude.
You know,
Yeah.
and that's why I do think like ultimately all things need to become Reddit and have that social. There's just not enough social proof and social moderation.
Yeah.
Right.
You know,
Have you seen Reddit's answers? It's in beta right now. So not entirely sure why this product needed to exist, but I guess it will be convenient. So it's basically an LLM that only is grounded on Reddit community. So
OpenAI. Just kidding.
I know nothing about it other than I asked it a few questions. Like one was like, I was like, hey, what's a good business to start if you had 100K? I'm like, that's a thing I think people ask quite a bit.
Right.
It was like, what was cool is like when I go to Reddit or Google and say, sorry, I hit that shit. If you go to site:reddit.com and then ask that same question, it'll essentially do that work for you, right? But it doesn't pull out the comments from it. It'll show the post, and then you have to go find the comment that might be the most relevant. This is like, I asked it, and it was like, Steve Salamander, with the 5th comment.
Steve Salamander. Fucking hell.
Hey Siri, remind me to edit the audio at this section of the podcast.
Sorry.
Oh wait, she's talking. You don't know how to edit anything. Shut up.
Salamander.
There's
it's a good
so hey,
call.
let's just another sidebar here. So Reddit, Blue Sky, maybe.
Yeah.
Nah.
Yeah.
I want to read a tweet from Mark Chen. Mark Chen is the chief research officer at OpenAI. He's the coach of the USA IOI team, Internet of I don't even know what the fuck that means. He says this was January 28th. So today, that was 2 days ago, 8 million views on Twitter. Congrats to DeepSeek on producing an O1 level reasoning model, ! Their research paper demonstrate that they've independently found some of the core ideas that we did on our way to O1. However, I think the external response has been somewhat overblown, especially in the narratives around cost. One implication of having two paradigms, pre-training and reasoning, is that we can optimize for a capability for over 2 axes instead of 1, which leads to lower costs. But it also means we have 2 axes along we can scale, and we intend to push compute aggressively into both. As research in distillation matures, we're also seeing that pushing on cost and pushing on capabilities are increasingly decoupled. The ability to serve at a lower cost doesn't imply the ability to produce better capabilities.
No.
We will continue to improve our ability to serve models at a lower cost, but we remain optimistic in our research roadmap and will remain focused in on executing on it.
Okay.
We're excited to ship better models to you in the quarter and over the year. What do you think?
Oh, fucking horseshit is what that is. That's absolute bullshit, because the fact of the matter is, so my next application that I'm working on is called Tiny Labels. And the whole premise is I'm going to take a photo of a label that I can't see because my fucking vision, you can see my big-ass, shitty-ass vision, right? I can't see labels. So I'm going to take a photo of it. I'm going to process that label. I'm going to turn it into, here's exactly what you need. Here's your warning. Whatever the label is, it's going to automatically adjust to it. And you know what I'm going to use? I'm going to use this new DeepSeek vision model that
Which
came
I've
out.
heard is good.
Because it's super cheap. Because I do have to think about, I don't have access to it within Apple. By the way, which is horseshit, I should have this within Apple. I should have it on device. I should not have to be sending this out to some external thing. But I think what I'm thinking is I'm going to use base 10, and I'm going to set up base 10 with this new vision model that that DeepSeek just came out with. And that's what I'm going to ultimately use.
Well, go ahead.
I was just saying, you're not going to send everything to China?
Oh, no, I'm going to send it to China. No. I'm just kidding.
So let's make that big clarification. So for everyone that thinks that DeepSeek's evil and they're going to steal your data, they open sourced it. You can run this stuff on your own hardware without ever
base
sending
10
data to China. If you go to their website, they're not going to tell you about Tiananmen Square.
Okay, so-
but if you run the model locally, it
Yes.
will.
So
Which shows you that the fact that it's not necessarily an external China threat technology in the open source model.
It's not. So real quick,
Unless there's
I
a back
think-
door.
Yeah, I think it's very important to say that as an American, do not use the DeepSeek app that's in the App Store. Do not use the DeepSeek website. Just don't do it. Because what people don't understand is as you're going through and you're having these conversations with these AIs, you're giving a treasure trove of information. And if you go and you do a comparison between OpenAI's privacy policy and you go and do a DeepSeek's privacy policy, it is a fucking nightmare. It's absolutely abhorrent. They will absolutely keep everything that you put in there. There's nothing that you will put into DeepSeek that they will not hold on to for as long as they possibly can. Do not use it. So if you want to use DeepSeek, you need to use it at base 10. You need to use it at AWS. I think Azure just came out and said, hey, we're going to be supporting it. Where those models, you can actually go and you can use them in that environment and you can ask them questions about Tiananmen Square and it'll give you answers for it. When you go and you actually are using the applications, it's no different than when you use the applications of ChatGPT, is that there's a layer, an application layer that sits on top of the intelligence. And that application layer is doing all the things that's stealing all of our PII, that's like really understanding what's going on. So just do not use their applications. And right now, it's the #1 fucking application above ChatGPT. Don't use it. So I'm begging you, don't use that fucking application, even though it's free. And they are 100% going to go after OpenAI, and every single feature that OpenAI has that they're charging $200 for, they're going to offer it for free. There's a reason they're offering it for free. Just think about that.
So remember when React came out?
Oh, yeah.
So React became the ubiquitous framework for building user interfaces, built by Facebook. By the way, as much as I hate on Zuckerberg in this podcast, my entire career was based off of stuff that happened. That literally, I have the utmost respect for Facebook's engineering, their team. I've always relied on that because, I mean, if you've seen the movie The Social Network, the dude was always about the engineering.
Yeah.
Right. But the idea, where was I going with that?
I don't know.
Oh yeah. So sorry. so React, this unbelievable framework comes out. Well, right behind it, Vue. Right? Vue. And now Evan
Vue.
Evan
Yeah.
Vue.
He was
Evan Vue.
I mean, he's of Chinese descent, but he's not Chinese. I mean, he's an American.
He's American, yeah.
But one of the things that I think that happened from that is that I think there was a scale from the Chinese open source community.
Yeah.
100% with Vue. And Vue was a complete ripoff of they waited for Angular and React to come out. Right. And they said, you know what? What can we do we kind of like this. I love this stuff that's coming out of America. But you know what can we do? What can we kind of do? And so what do? They do what Chinese do. They copy what you do and they try to improve upon it.
And that's
their culture.
I was a huge Vue fanboy early on. Now, one of the issues with that, if you're an American trying to use their stuff, is a lot of their documentation
It's in Chinese.
and information on the internet was in Chinese. So that's
one of the best state management libraries the best state management library I ever used was Vuex.
Yeah, Vuex was
100%.
great.
It was so good.
Yeah.
It was so freaking good. And that's one of the hardest things to do on the web is keep track of all your data and all your state in the browser.
I distinctly remember looking at Redux and being like, I don't.
He loved Vuex, and with Redux, he was like,
I was like, I don't get what we're trying to do here.
Redux was designed by fucking sociopaths.
Yeah.
It was designed by Abramov, a Russian. Duh.
Yeah,
exactly.
Just kidding.
Right? He's a good boy.
So we ended up using Vue
Petersburg.
for the IMS Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the Indy 500 fantasy racing game. If you go use that, that's all in Vue. We did that when I was at Fusion.
And I think it's just an illustration of like that you have to know that about Chinese technology. Is like they're not going to necessarily be the creative ones. But you push something out, they'll find it, they'll hack it, they'll reverse engineer it, and they'll repurpose it. And there's no stopping you. In fact, they should have shipped them those NVIDIA chips because they would have done it on more expensive hardware.
Exactly. So that was the other piece that what we did is we're like, oh, by the way, you can't have these badass hardware, so you can't build these cool models. They're like, all right, fuck off. We're going to go and we're going to figure out how to use and how we're to build these models without using that super expensive hardware. And that is the limit. So we put that restraint on China. And we said, you can't have access to this. And they're like, hold my beer.
They forgot the one most important thing in life. When there's a will,
there's a way.
There's a way.
Exactly.
And they have a way.
And they did it. And they did it for $6 million fucking dollars.
No, that's debunked. Because you can't say that, right? Because they used models that have already existed.
No, bullshit. How much? Okay, fuck that.
Yeah,
how much money?
They would not have been able to do what
out of their pocket did they spend?
So
$6 million bucks.
But I think
I don't give a shit that OpenAI spent $18 billion.
No, that's you can't think about it that way. You can, but you can't. Which is they rode the backs of someone else's work.
Dude, but that's what we all fucking do.
Exactly.
That's literally the definition.
But the public perception.
I don't give a shit about the public perception.
Well, let me finish.
How much money?
The public perception is that they were able to create this from scratch for $6 million.
No, bullshit.
It is.
Anybody who's told them that they created it from scratch is a fucking idiot.
That's the public perception.
You know that, but I agree.
You're not the average Joe.
But who gives a fuck about the average Joe? Like, why do I give a fuck what my mom thinks?
Yeah. Don't vote for this guy. Don't vote for this guy.
All of you.
Yeah.
Why do I care what my mom thinks about fucking DeepSeek coming up with a new AI model was built on nothing?
It doesn't change the fact that they can offer the service for cheaper. Yeah. It doesn't, but it does matter.
10x cheaper.
It does matter that they took in models and abstracted on top of them.
No.
Not from a competitive perspective.
We're all doing it.
Okay.
No, you're not getting it.
I know. I do. I get you. So here's the thing, though, is that every fucking model that has been released is trained on synthetic data from some other model, and they might not like it, but you fuckers have stolen from the entire internet. So the fact that we're stealing your synthetic data from your model to generate new models,
So here's the problem with that game theory. There's a thing called first mover advantage and last mover advantage. And in this game, you have last mover advantage, but it doesn't, you have to see through the crack a little bit, right? Where it's like, well, someone else is just going to do it cheaper. The bottom line is that the model is going to be the commodity.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm also really excited because, okay, if these guys can do it for 10 million,
right?
Well, Facebook or Meta right now is, they've got their war room.
Did you hear about the war rooms?
Yeah, they're doing their war
rooms.
I'm like,
because Zuckerberg was probably, go ahead.
We talked about this a few weeks ago where we were like, all right, the models have gotten big enough. The CPU's going as fast as, we've got it clocked as much as we can. Now, how do we do the caching on this? How do we create more cores? That's what these guys figured out before anyone else really was. They optimized the thing that instead of just making it a bigger. And what that guy's tweet was about was, oh yeah, well there's two attack vectors here. Like we have two areas we can improve upon. They went down this path.
Dude, that was the most just absolute loser tweet of all time from the chief research officer of OpenAI.
Someone burned him so bad in the comments though. They were like, yeah, but the 01 I can only hit 10 times a day, and it's like super expensive. And theirs I can just like hit infinitely for free.
So let's just do a day in the life of this fucking chief research officer versus a day in the life of whoever just grinded on DeepSeek for the last 6 months. Okay, this guy goes to work probably, let's say 10 hours a day. Let's say he works real hard, Silicon Valley, right? He drives his Tesla Model Y, long range. He's got 3 kids. Right?
So
He's literally makes 650 grand a quarter.
Yeah.
Right?
Probably,
and he's not doing it off profit because OpenAI does not make any money. They lose money. They are a startup. So they're taking all this money and they're raising all this. They're convincing all these people to give them all this money, saying that they have something that no one else has. And they're losing. And they're losing.
Yeah.
Because they don't know the game. The game is data, and guess what? The data is out there. And if your moat is something that can be scraped, you don't have a moat.
Well, but
buy Palantir.
Here's where I will disagree with you though, is because they've got 500 billion reasons why they still have a great chance to win.
Well, they've only got 100 billion of them now
so far. Yeah.
And Larry Ellison looks like he's got most of that cash.
If you can convince all those people with more money than God to invest in you, they can beat them all day.
This is the one thing I'll give Trump is he's like, y'all figure this out. You know, I'm not. He didn't give Altman any money.
Literally, his game.
I'll give you a presentation on TV. That was his thing. You can present that you're working,
but you notice that he doesn't. He doesn't really. He, as part of the United States of America, didn't make a big commitment.
No, they didn't.
And we talked about that last week. I think he might have been sitting in that meeting and going, I'm going to do this to piss off Elon because I need that guy out of my office. But like, I don't actually know if this is something I'm going long on.
Or he's just promised them the world, and he's
he'll
follow through if he feels like it's actually worth it.
So Vivek, we already know Vivek's out.
Vivek's out.
We got Doge now, and so I watched. It was the Breakfast podcast that they do. Great podcast where he was talking about it, and it was basically just we have a different vision.
So he did. So he did admit there was a different vision.
There was a different opinion in that, like, where Elon wanted to take Doge to be more of a technology, where he wanted it to be more law-based and like passing laws and all that. And he was like, well, there's a Hatch Act, so I'm not able to actually do it because I want to run for governor of Ohio.
That's what I thought it was.
Yeah.
Well, so the thing that I think is important to know about Vivek and Elon, one of Elon's really good friends kind of went public against Elon.
Yeah.
And that is, both of those guys were really bullied in high school.
Oh, sure.
So if you go down to the past and you go through Vivek and Elon have a very, very similar childhood, which is they were nerds, they got made fun of, and they're literally, especially Elon, are out for blood.
Dude, I have one friend. So real quick, I'm not going to say his name. I want to say his name so fucking bad. And if you follow me on Facebook, you know who this person is. That I have one of those people. And this guy was the most insufferable twat you've ever met. He was insufferable in junior high. He was insufferable in high school. He was just this fucking, he was a dork. And now he's made a lot of money for himself. He's done very well for himself. And now he thinks he's just the fucking God's gift.
It's a dangerous gift for when you go from
Doug.
There's nothing worse.
I'm not gonna say it.
I don't know what you just said, but
sorry.
No, I mean, there's nothing worse than getting made fun of when you're a kid.
Yeah,
exactly.
And there's nothing. I mean, besides maybe your dad leaving you or your mom.
Right.
Like. I mean, there's other worse things.
Yeah,
okay, I don't want. Yeah. But one of the in modern American society, where you generally have something to food to wake up to, a ride to school, access to things.
No, you're right. Not being accepted as a child is the ultimate. Not the ultimate. Again, with all the other things considered,
the ultimate in the average modern American kid's life.
It hurts your psyche long term. It makes you not a very
Doug.
Yeah.
I won't say his last name. It's so fucking perfect.
And Trump got that from his dad. His dad treated him like shit. He treated Donald Trump Jr. like shit. He was never good enough. And
that's the point. These people are all out to prove, like, they've done good, they've done bad, all in between. They're all out to prove to everyone how great they are and how they're
Zuckerberg, same thing.
Yeah,
huge nerd, didn't get girls, built Facebook to spite them all.
Yeah. Well, didn't he originally? Okay, this has gotten sideways, but didn't he originally build it to basically
find the chicks?
Yeah, to find the chicks. It was stalking.
Hell yeah,
dude!
I built shit to find chicks.
It was literally an ingenious app. He scraped all the sororities and the fraternities websites, and you could create a little
the Harvard book thing that they did.
Yeah, and then you just pressed face mash, and it would randomly join up.
Face mash.
You would randomly join up a man and a woman at the school, and people would be like, "Oh, cool!
Yeah.
And this, and that was it. That was why that was it.
Yeah.
So I mean, don't trust these people.
Okay. They didn't get laid. Don't trust them.
Get laid. Don't trust AI.
I totally respect Y Combinator. I totally respect the engineering teams at Facebook, but what's going on right now since the inauguration, since the election, there's a grab for this power, and the power is somebody figured out how to take all human knowledge and put it in a vector database.
Right.
And they're like, who's going to own that?
Yeah.
And literally, the answer's same as my favorite line from Ernest Goes to Camp. Who can own a tree?